All right, trying to get to the hook. Almost there.
All right, that's back.
All right, here it comes. Here's the big hook.
Backstage with AJ Blues. The show most watched by SLED, Lexington County Major Crimes Unit, and Town of Lexington Police.
That's right. And that's not something we only need to do. It's probably not.
I've been waiting for the scourge of the music industry, the Vince McMahon of the blues. You can block him, but you just can't stop him from getting through. The one, the only, AJ Blues.
All right, Backstage with AJ Blues. We're actually live with 100.7 The Point. And
so any pending court dates coming up?
Well, you know, we're appealing those restraining orders. I meant to show you the trespass notices, too. You would have laughed at those. But we are appealing those. And, you know, if you actually hear the testimony that was allowed in this court without any evidence whatsoever, you'll not only laugh, but you'll cry for the fact that the rights have left Lexington County.
There's a bunch of stuff, and you can talk to people that are going through divorce. You can talk to people that are dealing with child custody stuff. It's different than you think it is. And, you know, anytime, I think the Bible warns about this, so that do not take your brother to the Sanhedrin, because you don't know what's going to happen. And things are, I mean, when you hear about, you know, minority folks, disaffected folks getting railroaded, and you're like, no, that can't happen in our justice system. Well, it does. And when you have friends that have gone through things, and you're like, no, that's not supposed to happen. Well, that's what happened.
Yeah, well, you have a program on your station that I was listening to on my way to court that day.
Uh-huh.
And they were talking about freedom of speech and how it's been violated all over, and they wanted to hear stories. And I so much wanted to call in, but I was on my way to the courthouse, and so I did not get to do it. And I wish I had have, because I could have at least talked about the things that I am now not allowed to talk about.
Yeah, you're barred. You're barred you're a candidate for office, elective office. You're a guy that's supposed to be out meeting and greeting people. You're a guy that's supposed to be able to make your case for how you can make your district better.
Yeah, and one of the big things is school safety.
Gosh, and I tell you what, let's you know, and it can be on low-level stuff. Just that we pick these kids up and bus them around is a crazy danger. Just that we do all the crazy stuff that we do. You have to build a school that looks and acts like a prison. Everybody has to have a break-free ID. All these things. But one of
the wildest things, like I said earlier this week, that got to me was the fact that there were threats on social media towards a school in Lexington, and I was looking to see if they were blaming me for this, because I fully expected to get, you know, a knock on the door or something.
Right, and that's happened before, right?
Yeah, because every time something happens around here, they're first to blame me. They don't investigate.
What if you're not the only one?
Well, see,
what if this troll or whoever's doing this has a stable of aliases, of accounts, of things that they run through?
Well, that's the thing too. They are hitting me with different accounts on my phone, and I feel certain whoever is harassing me on the phone is the same person that's hacking the network, that's probably hacked Twitter, and done all these things. And you know, they called in the big guns on this too. The threat happened Monday night. They investigated it Tuesday. They knew who did it. And then if you read the Town of Lexington Police Department's Facebook, they even talked about an incident happening the Friday before at another school, the River Bluff down the road. So, but nobody ever said anything about that or reported it aloud. And so this is going on, and okay, well, if you know who it is, why haven't you done anything about it?
But it's hard to make those calls from prison or from jail anyway.
Yeah, well, of course, that's what they did to me, and my account was still going. So, they did make an arrest on Wednesday. The kid is a 14-year-old kid. And I read through these comments because I wanted to see what everybody had to say, and I recognized one person who had said things about me before. And she went on to say that it's hard to believe a 14-year-old could cause this much trouble and man hours on this. And I'm sitting there like, well, you need to come out here and see what goes on out here. If you don't believe that, you'll really flip out over this stuff.
No, let's talk about that for a little bit, because you've exposed to me, and this is stuff I don't have high school age kids, and so I'm not like plugged into. I knew what went on when I was in high school, and it was sort of bad, but largely harmless. We did have somebody that burned up in a car one time. A good person who made like 3 bad decisions, and it cost him his life. But most of the stuff was benign and stupid. But evidently, stuff now, just like how the mores with dating and everything else that have changed so radically. This behavior with alcohol and drugs and risky behavior is just out of control.
Yeah. And we've exposed that. We've exposed some of the places involved in that. The place next door still ain't got busted for doing that. And then, of course, the fake ID rings. There's been so much, and a lot of kids, too, getting bullied. Special ed kids being bullied as well as other kids being bullied.
No, that's just horrible.
And
it's really horrible that it's really horrible in this. With the way things are, I thought things were better.
Yeah, well,
than that.
Oh yeah, as long as nobody talks about it, it's always better.
Yeah.
And I might be pushing the line now, but
Well, let's be careful.
I haven't called out anybody by name.
No, let's make sure that we don't add to your troubles or your lawyer's beach house fund.
Yeah.
But goodness, this is just horrible, and. We want kids to be safe at school. There's this thing in loco parenti where the school accepts and relishes the authority as if they are the parent, but they don't necessarily take care of them as a parent would do. They don't necessarily provide the checks against aggression and scary stuff.
Yeah. But the things that happened this week is exactly what I've been talking about. We've seen it a lot more lately. It's and it's turning into a fad anymore. These kids are doing all this to get attention or to get
it's the end of school. Yeah, it's the end of school. You got 4 weeks left or 3 weeks left or whatever. So you think that it's just a thing to do, like pulling a fire alarm or something? Mm. You think that's that it's a prank?
Yeah.
So you think it's a prank?
Oh, I think it's an attention thing. I really do think that they're just not getting the attention that they need, the discipline that they need, so they're acting out in all these different ways to fit into a different groove, So.
Well, I can see. I wouldn't do it myself, of course, but I can see how you could get some street cred by doing these wackadoo things.
Well, one of the things that we're doing, because they knew I record everywhere I go. They were trying their damnedest to get on video. They make it a point to slow down and wait.
Oh,
they wanted to be put on YouTube. But of course, I disappointed them. I just turned it over to law enforcement instead.
Right.
So,
well, that's funny. That is funny. So they've done studies and kids today. Let me tell you about these kids today would much rather be famous than rich. I would always much more rather be rich than famous. But kids today would much rather be famous than rich. I have friends that for a while, until YouTube changed their metric, that they were living off YouTube, that they were successful enough and had enough views and click-throughs and this and that they were able to live to furnish their lifestyle on YouTube. But that's changed. I mean, how do you channel this desire to be notable, to be talk of the town? How do you channel that into something that's worthwhile and productive?
Well, see, what I would always do is I would always put on these open mic shows and invite those kids. Give them some avenue, you know. Give them a different. If you want to showboat and show out, I mean, do it on stage.
Yeah, do it. It might really work for you.
Yeah,
and there are people that go through a thing. They do it like one time, and then that becomes who they are. I've got a friend of mine from high school, and he's a great football player, really smart guy, good guy, and we had a talent show at school. He's now a professional comedian. That's what he does.
Yeah.
So back then, I was like, "Hey, that's sort of funny." But now that it's a job.
Yeah. Speaking of jobs, you doing double time for the past few weeks now, ain't you?
Yeah. Well, our friend David Califf, he'll be back soon, and just filling in the gaps till he gets back. So that works out well. And again, even though we disagree completely, we're probably out of phase 180 degrees on most things of importance. I know he's a good person. That's been demonstrated, and I've known him for not forever, but for 10 plus years. And he's my health hero. He's really, really positive, and he's a guy that I know that has done it without drugs and all these, just by being a grinder. Because I used to see him in the gym every time I was there, and he was there when I wasn't there.
Yeah. Now
so it's easy. It's easy to fill in for him, and it's easy to help him when he can't be here. So he's a great person, and he's a friend. So, but we disagree politically, which is how it works on most of these things. That I am the I hate to say this, AJ, but I am sort of the patron saint of lost causes. So be careful with your association with me, and not accepted ideas. I have a whole bunch of crazy ideas about
I thought that was
how
me.
to fix this.
I thought that was me here, Oh,
so we just gotta keep you fighting.
I feel like Malcolm Reynolds in Serenity, or Firefly show that was on years ago. And said, "Hey, you're fighting a battle you can't win." As well, I'm known for that.
Yeah, and that's that's not a bad thing. Somebody has to stick up for the people that can't stick up for themselves, and then when they have to stick up for themselves, they have to make it so painful for the other side that they won't attack the next person like them 2 years down the road.
Oh, and speaking of humanitarians, I wanna take a brief moment for Ken Childs. I sent him a song dedication earlier. Lap Dance is so much better when the stripper's crying by the Bloodhound Gang. And he's real good at donating to today's youth in the club, as we know, and seeing the video.
Goodness.
But I was looking at election campaign records, of course, on Chris Wooten, and seeing all the outside influence there. And we know that Ken's law firm is outside influence as well. And
hey, these are your statements only. I'm not.
Yeah.
The opinions expressed on this station are really the sole property and beliefs, and maybe not even what they believe, of the person that uttered them.
I'll say this: they're not in District 69. So.
Okay.
But he did donate some money to one of the campaigns. It was a council member, or excuse me, a board member for the school, Anne Marie Ekstrom Green. She was running, and she was in the runoff. He donated $100 to her, though. So I'm kind of curious as to, okay.
Who knows? And I tell you, and this is you have stood for as a candidate for office. That's something that I've never done, but my father did.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad ran for House District 79, where that was where we lived way back when. And I think, oh my goodness, I think that's where I live now. I think, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. We're going to hang on with AJ Blues for another couple minutes. Be right back after this. All right, so we got AJ Blues on the line. We're going to talk to him for a little bit longer. If you want to call in, go ahead. 803-799-8255. That's 799-TALK. You can be part of the program. We can talk and talk and talk. But I'm going to go ahead and have another drink of this poisonous red juice. Which is this.
ABC's Alex Stone. The Sprint name will go away under T-Mobile's proposed $26 billion acquisition proposal. Deal which would leave just 3 major players in the U.S. wireless arena needs government. In Baku, capital of Azerbaijan, fires broke out in a vacant 33-story building that was intended as a Trump-branded hotel in the former Soviet Republic before Donald Trump was elected president. Investigators did not provide the cause. But Richard Manson, ABC News.
All right, so getting ready for the next little bit with AJ Blues.
Backstage with AJ Blues. The show most watched by SLED, Lexington County Major Crimes Unit, and Town of Lexington Police Department.
Oh, yeah.
Attention, everyone. One.
Your local. Can't help it. Can't help it while we're on holding.
Even if.
We'll go ahead and throw in a little identification here at the moment.
That's not much of a love song, is it?
WDLN. DeLorean Radio is on now. Serving Columbia, St. Andrews, Irmo, and Lexington.
That's an important thing. Hey, AJ, tell me something about some good music. What's some good stuff that's coming to Columbia or within a 4-hour drive?
Oh, I got something for you. May 17th.
All right.
May 17th. Be at the House of Blues at Myrtle Beach. Good friends of mine, Wayland, is going to be there. I met them a few years back, 2013, I believe, at the USMC Mud Run. They come in with Jackal.
Did you run?
No, I didn't run. I was running the stage. I was doing the whole kit and caboodle on that. I mean, that fell in my lap so nicely.
Well, that's great. I've had a number of my colleagues that have done it. And one of my roommates, he was a Greco-Roman wrestler at James Madison University, a monster of a guy, 6'5". Well, he was Greco-Roman wrestler.
Oh,
yeah, he's the biggest gecko you've ever seen.
The biggest gecko,
but he and his practice partners did it. Got a number of my friends that from high school that have done it. That seems like a fun thing. Not that I will ever do it, because I probably won't. But that's a great thing. So the Waylands.
Wayland, yes. They're
Wayland.
on Facebook. Look at Wayland the Band on Facebook. In fact, I posted one of their or a couple of their videos recently. They'll get on. They interact with all their fans. I mean, they're the real deal.
Well, that's great. I missed Tartan Day South. That's where I see people like Wrath Kelter and all those people. It's a heritage thing, I guess, to be a fan of the Irish fighting music, Flogging Molly and things like that. But goodness, it's always good. It's strange, on one hand, you have people that are like, oh, well, the arts need to be supported and we need to do these things. But you can see so much wonderful stuff in a bar. You can see so much wonderful things in a dive.
You can see a lot of things you don't want to see in there too.
Yeah. Well, not the kind of places I would go, but yeah. And I had there's a venue in Atlanta called Smith's Old Bar that I used to go to a lot. And one of my chiropractic school roommates was from Erie, Pennsylvania, and one of the guys for the band Train was from Erie, Pennsylvania, and they were high school friends. So when we were all living in Atlanta together, Train stayed with us.
Oh, cool.
And no kidding.
Did y'all do Drops of Jupiter?
Drops of Jupiter. I think this might have been before Drops of Jupiter. I think that might have been the second album. That might have been. Well, I have to think about that. Well, anyway, they were great. A guy named Todd Snyder. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's got a song called Rocket Fuel that might jar a memory. He was the headliner, and Train was the little guy in the thing, and it was
John Snyder.
All right, Bo and Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about this? Our country has changed so much. When you were great, I don't know your. I think we're within 10 years of age.
Friday nights was the night to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm just telling you.
But everybody did it. Every little kid, all my friends, and we were all Dukes of Hazzard fans. And not once did anybody ever insert any sort of racial component, any sort of Old South component. We used to make fun of James Best and Boss Hogg and all those people. I mean, it was part of the culture, but not negative. It was crazy positive. Yeah. And now you got people screaming that somebody has a car made up like the General Lee.
Well, you know what? They need to go back and watch Blazing Saddles.
Could not survive today.
They need to go back. They need to go back and watch Blazing Saddles. I'm sorry.
Our country is so humorless and thin-skinned, and I throw a lot of that on the left, and it's probably unfair that I do it. But stuff isn't funny anymore. And I'll tell you, I watched that after the brouhaha over Michelle Wolf and the White House Correspondents' Dinner thing. I punched it up on the YouTube and watched it, and it was okay, but not once. I've been to many comedy clubs, a couple here in Columbia, and then Atlanta, and then in New York and things. There was not one delivery of one joke that was top. And there were no belly laughs. It was a polite laughing. There was no really funny stuff. It didn't happen.
You mean?
I don't know if that happens anymore. Is anything funny anymore?
You mean like this dirty joke? A horse
fell. No. Just remember where we're on.
I know. A horse fell in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
No, okay. It's a dirty joke. It is a dirty joke there. Yeah. But there were none of these belly laughs, none of these horror. Do you know who Paul Provenza is?
Provenza.
He's a sort of quasi-famous comedian. Well, anyway, I was at Dangerfields in New York City with a group of all Model UN folks. We were rocking hardcore folks there. We were, real radical. But anyway, we went to Dangerfields in New York City, and Paul Provenza was on the stage. And I've always wanted to heckle. Anyway, Paul Provenza launches into this thing about his parents having sex, and he says, "This is my most successful heckle." But I was, redneck from South Carolina in New York City, and so she starts talking about, can you picture your parents having sex? And from the crowd, I go, "I got pictures," and the whole crowd laughed, and I was like, I was very full of myself. Very full of myself at that.
And what's sad is you actually had the pictures, don't you?
God no. They're using to chase the ghosts around the house. No, so the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and this Michelle Wolf, she seems smart. She's sort of pretty. She has the opportunity to be. She wasn't a one-trick pony. It just wasn't really funny. How about this? It wasn't funny enough to be on television. It might have been okay at a bridal shower or something like that. And all these people made complaints about how coarse she was. And she, it was sort of blue. It was a little bit of a blue act. But it just wasn't really funny.
Yeah, that's kind of like Steve Carell. I don't think he's funny at all.
Yeah, well,
I can't get.
I think his awkwardness is funny.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever like laughed so much I had to like take a breath.
Yeah.
But there's almost all these people that are on the stand-up comedy circuit.
Dane Cook, Ryan Reynolds is always funny.
These people are crazy funny.
Yeah.
Crazy funny. You almost fall out into the floor. They're so funny. And I think, and they're national comedians. They're people like Dana Carvey. They're people, I'm trying to think of Jerry Seinfeld. They won't work college campuses anymore because the crowds are so intolerant of real humor.
Not gonna do it. It wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's right.
Wouldn't be prudent.
But you can't. Everybody has a chip on their shoulder, desperately looking to be offended. Or change that. There are people that
they're already offended. They're just waiting for the opportunity to express it.
Right. So they're ready to go off half cocked, and they're fully cocked. That's they got a big chip on their shoulder. So humor. And gosh, if you everybody in the audience, raise your hand if you've ever listened to a Richard Pryor album. Okay, that's me.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Everybody, Sam Kinison, if he was alive, could not do his show. Richard Pryor could not do his show. All these great Eddie Murphy couldn't do his show.
I think
and he wasn't heavy.
Carlin would still do his show.
Yeah, because he was a. The thing about George Carlin was he was a genius, right? That's the truth. He was an early '60s Ed Sullivan comedian, also, but he was a grinder. He went to work every day. So when he does these monologues, when he's very wordy and going through list of words, he would drill himself with that over and over and over and over, so he could get the successful delivery. That was something that he would do. So it wasn't. He was so effortless that you looked like you thought that it was just falling out of his head, but it was all very well planned. It was all very well planned, and he was a grinder. He worked and worked for it. That's why he was so good, because he actually did the work, and he was very insightful. But these new comedians, or how about this? These popular comedians, not so much. And it's so disappointing. When I went to that Clemson Tiger University, I was lucky. I got to sit in with Bill Buckley. He was our 100-year centennial speaker, and so I was 2 feet from him and got to talk to him. And I was like, "Oh, I'm in the right place." I got Bill Buckley there, and he's funnier than this. White House Correspondent dinner, Michelle Wolfwoman. And again, I'll say that her stuff was sort of funny, but it wasn't. Nothing was belly laugh funny.
I'll tell you a good.
And it was crude, where you could get the belly laugh type of thing, but it didn't happen.
I'll tell you,
go ahead, AJ.
A good one. We dedicated one of his to our buddy Ken too. It was Rodney Carrington. Have you ever listened to his stuff?
No.
Oh man, he's funny.
But I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down right now. You can see me writing.
He's country, but you'll love it. I mean, he's on YouTube. You can watch his full show. You will laugh. Is he sort of
musical?
He's musical.
Guitar musical?
Yes. And he's got a sidekick.
Comedy.
And he's got a sidekick with a piano too.
Okay, all right. So that maybe I've seen him. I was
when you hear one of his songs, I mean, he's got one. He says, "Show them to me."
Yeah. I know exactly. Exactly.
That's him right there. So
right.
yeah,
so I did know, and that is funny.
Yeah.
All right, AJ, we'll talk for just a couple more minutes, and then we'll let you go. This is America's Radio Show. Gene Garris here on the point. All right,
Don't you have somebody on hold?
WDLN DeLorean Radio is on now. Serving Columbia, St. Andrews, Irmo, and Lexington.
Hey, glad to see Angela. Calling out Angela, seeing her listening to the program, talking about Angela. Say it. can learn. I can learn.
All right, so backstage with AJ Blues, we're talking with Dr. Gene Garris with 100.7 FM, The Point, America's radio.
All right, coming back with some more postmodern jukebox. We're going to go ahead and get to the hook. That's where I always want to go. I always want to get to the hook. All right, so here it comes. So this is a mashup, a remix of Outkast's Hey Ya by Postmodern Jukebox and Sarah Nimitz. All right, here we go. This is the hook. All right, so punch him up on the YouTube. Oh, here we go. This is maybe the secondary hook. Man, the song is so good. I forgot how good the song was. That's right. All right, so AJ, have you ever heard of Postmodern Jukebox?
Yes.
Okay, they're great. They do all sorts of good stuff, and
we spoke about it a couple of months back, I think.
Yeah, well, they're on my probably 90-day schedule where they keep on popping up about. Here we go. All right, so we'll dump Sarah there. But yeah, gosh, there's so much good stuff. I just wish there was good comedy again.
Yeah. Well,
but I think maybe I have to go back to the clubs. I don't have time to do that. I don't have that smoky energy to do that anymore. I just can't do it.
Well, what do you think about the return of Roseanne?
Gosh, you know, I never watched the show Roseanne, and I don't know why. If I had a conflict, if I had some sort of scheduled thing or what, I never saw the program ever.
But I hear it's inspiring.
You know, wait. Here, I'm going to go further in. But we don't have broadcast television, but we have all these Amazon Prime and Acorn and all this British television and stuff. But all the seasons of Roseanne have been available online on one of these services. I don't even know which one it is. But we've seen like 5 seasons of the program. It is extremely well written. And now they've thrown the first 3 seasons shows of this year on. It's extremely well written and imaginable. You can imagine somebody in Ohio, or Illinois, in this position, one of these Rust Belt families that's been left behind by the country. You can see. I mean, it's reasonable.
You know what? I think they ought to tackle something else that's going on in Ohio. I don't know if it's still going on, but I know it was a law. You could not smoke a cigarette in your own home if kids were present.
Yeah, there's a child. Yeah. Now, I'm somebody that's allergic to cigarette smoke, and it has plagued me my whole life. And I'll tell you, I benefit greatly from the smoking ban. I benefit greatly. But while it was going on, while it was new and open for comment, I hated it. And the reason even though I ultimately would benefit from it, I hate it because it says you property owner, you guy that needs those $7 a pack cigarettes sold from behind the bar to keep your doors open, you don't get to do that anymore.
Well, the funniest man in America, James Gregory, he always talked about, smokers got rights too. And then I just recently saw something last week on Facebook. It was an article about one of the states out west that has legalization of marijuana. They actually have marijuana smoking arrangements in restaurants now. And what it is, it's like a big tube going down over you. And it's got a ventilation suction where it's sucking the smoke out of the building, and you're sitting in there in this plastic tube at the table, And I'm like,
that's funny.
What the hell? I mean,
no, but I mean, if that's what they have to do to skirt the law, if that's what it's required to do it, and they want the cachet and the notoriety, and they want to be the place, Bong hits pizza and wings. If they want to do that, then hey, it's your place. Do what you want.
Yeah, but
for a lot of these things that pop up, oh, you can't do that. We're not going to let your star be here. We're going to get the, it doesn't fit our community. It doesn't fit our village. Hey, you're the place. You're the property owner. Do what you want. It's your property.
Of course, then they have to worry about when they leave there getting pulled over for being under the influence.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's something that's really strange. All you have to do is have some friends that are in the DUI defense business, and you'll find out all sorts of things that, they can say you can blow 000 and they can still arrest you.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what? So it's different, and that's it's just a mess. And I believe, AJ, I believe this for you and me and everybody else, that you own you. And that was my one of my reasons I supported Thomas Ravenel when he ran for the U.S. Senate, was while he was going through his problems, I would say to people on the radio, I'd say, who owns Thomas Ravenel? And the answer is he does.
Yeah.
So what business is it of mine what he puts in his body, what he likes to smell and sniff? It's not my business. It's absolutely not my business. There's not a state interest in that. And this spirit of prohibition, the whole reason I think that our friends in law enforcement still support these goofy restrictions on drugs is it's an easy hit. It's an easy convict. Oh, yeah, we found it. It was there. He needs to go to jail. That's the same thing with the gun crimes. Oh, the gun was present, therefore, it was easy.
Well, right now, it's easy. If anybody says my name, I get hit for internet threats. But yet they spent the time with the other kid and checked all his phones and equipment. So nobody checked my stuff.
Well, again, I think you might be somebody's political enemy, and they've been alerted. Hey, anytime this happens, you got to spin the ball the other way.
Yeah,
and it's shameful. It really is. And if it happens to you, it can happen to somebody else. And if it happens to you, it's probably happened to somebody else in the past.
Well,
and let's say that you got in a not even a fist fight. Let's say that you got into a discussion, a negative discussion with maybe somebody that's a little bit undesirable, and that person has political power. This is ridiculous.
It is.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And people out there go, why are you talking about this? This is sort of creepy, and some of the allegations are sort of creepy. And hey, it's got schools involved. You can't be threatening schools. What didn't happen?
It didn't happen.
And see, that's the thing. The bizarreness of the allegations for something that didn't happen. And how do you can't prove your way out of it? You can't get it's in the. So I heard students brought it to a teacher who brought it to this person who brought it to that person. Where's a student? Is a screen capture? Can you show me?
Yeah.
How can I defend against something that are just words?
It's Fugazi.
Yeah, it's a fake. It's a fake. That's exactly how these things work. And in this electronically mediated reality that we're all living in, how can you get out from under that? Oh, well, something that has an avatar that looks like your avatar was sent to this person who has his own avatar. How does that work when anybody can impersonate anybody else?
Yeah. How many accounts have you seen on Facebook where, and maybe even your own, where you got a friend request from yourself where somebody cloned you?
Yeah, well, that's actually not happened to me.
but I've seen it happen.
I have received death threats.
You
for some of my and I try to be clean on all this stuff. Some death threats about a joke I told, of all things. That I of course don't think it was that
cornered on death threats.
No, it's just a simple joke. But I have a lot of friends in the United Kingdom, and it was right after that Manchester bombing, and I had some dark humor. It was a little bit too dark for people that were living through it, and it was a mistake. But I didn't realize it was a mistake until it had to be corrected. You know, and it
kind of like O'Doyle Rules. You remember that?
I don't.
It was one of the Adam Sandler movies where he went back to school, and the bullies.
Okay.
He got to see all the bullies from each segment of the family, and one of them knocked the food out or knocked his books out of his hand. He said something. He said, "O'Doyle, I got a feeling your whole family's going down real soon." And then the whole family's in the station wagon driving down the road, and they hit this banana peel, which had very big significance in this movie, apparently. And it spun the car off the cliff, and they're like, O'Doyle rules, and boom, plummets down. And I kept thinking about that when they talked about this car going off the cliff with a family in it. And, I mean, I feel bad. You know, of course I feel bad that that's the only thing that popped in my head at first. I mean, it's a tragedy, of course, but, you know, I went straight to the comedy side of it. And I think I told that joke one time and let it, and then just got it out of my system.
Well, that's another thing. So you are a public figure, true? Yeah, I think that's true. You stand in front of crowds of people and talk to them. I think that counts. And you do broadcasting and other things. So sometimes it's hard to read the room. And I think by people like Dana Carvey, people like Jerry Seinfeld, those people say they won't play college campuses anymore because the people can't take the humor. They're so sensitive snowflakes; they can't take the humor. Well, if you're not in the same room with the people, how do you know what's possible? You don't. You can't feel out the room. You can't solve the problem. And and there's some familiarity too. Like I can see people getting in trouble, people making mistakes, people saying things they would never say face to face from the convenience of their house in their underwear at 3:00 in the morning. I can see that. That is something that I can see and I can understand it. But when stuff's just being made up, how do you get out from under that?
Yeah.
Well, you can't. Oh, well, he did this. Well, no, he didn't.
No, I'll take responsibility for what I do, and I do tell it like it is, and I tell it here just like I tell it out there. I mean, it's no different.
Yeah. So, but how do you? I mean, you just can't get away from these things. It's not good. How about this? It's not good. It's not American. I mean, gosh, if you want to see what the standard is, this is what I want you to do. Everybody within the sound of my voice, go to the magic of Google or YouTube or whatever, and search for Moms Mabley. Search for that name. Search for Moms Mabley, and realize that. Oh my goodness! We'll catch you next week. I got 10 seconds here. All right, Gene Garris, America's Radio Show. This time minus 2 hours, probably next week. 803-799-8255. Call number, americasradioshow.com.
All right, thanks, Gene. And, well, that was a lot of fun. Always is when we get Gene. And are we still connected, or we killed that? Let's kill that. There we go. And, all right, Backstage with AJ Blues. We had a few technical issues getting started, trying to do the Facebook feed. That didn't exactly work out. So we kept to our Ustream, and we'll just send this recording over to Facebook. How's that? In the meantime, we're going to get out of here with For Hire with I'm Done on Backstage with AJ Blues.
Where is the bluesman?
Did they kill him? I'm not sure.
An elected legislature can trample a man's rights as easily as a king can.
The city's so corrupt we have infiltrated every level of its infrastructure.
First tonight, a Department of Homeland Security worker is running an inflammatory website promoting a race war.
For too long, we were blind to the pain that the Confederate flag stirred in too many of our citizens. Republicans and Democrats now acknowledge, including Governor Haley.
It's time to move the flag from the Capitol grounds.
This is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
Half of writing history is hiding the truth.
That's how it starts. The fever, the rage, the feeling of powerlessness that turns good men cruel.
But mark my words. This war will be fought not on the frontier or on some distant battlefield, but amongst us, among our homes. Our children will learn of it with their own eyes. And the innocent will die with the rest of us.
Do you think he's coming back?
I don't know.